Another session of the Excel Toronto Meetup group. We are in February, end of February 2026, and we have a great session today with Jacob Nielsen about data types. Before I introduce him formally, I would like to welcome everyone, especially those of you who are here for the first time. The Meetup group in Toronto runs sessions every month, sometimes twice a month. And we have great topics all the time with presenters from all over the world. And I hope you like it and come back if you get to learn something with us. I have a couple of announcements in terms of events and other resources available for you. I always make a point of sharing this here since we are a group about Excel. Every time I find something interesting I like to or useful, I like to share with you all. So be mindful that the session is being recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. Feel free to take a look at it. We have the recordings from all the sessions there. We also have the files available, not on YouTube, but on the Meetup. I will tell you in a minute where that is. And so you can take advantage of all these more than 6 years now of content that is available there, delivered to you by all the best Excel experts in the world. My name is Celia Alves. If you don't know me, I am an Excel MVP, and I also work as a business analyst and advocate for Sheetcast. Sheetcast happens to have become our sponsor in the last 18 months or so. And we'll talk about it in just a minute as well. But Aurora, would you like to say hello as well?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Aurora. I'm a freelance consultant based in Toronto, providing data analytics solutions with Microsoft products, and I'm a big fan of Excel. I will be posting resources and links in the chat and monitoring it for your questions. And now let's learn together today from our guest, Jacob Nielsen.
Thank you, Aurora. And a shout out as well to our volunteers, Anthony, Licinia, Phil, and Valeria, for their help with the chapters for YouTube, the YouTube videos and other tasks in the group. Okay, as I mentioned, Sheetcast is our sponsor. It is an add-in that allows you to transform your Excel workbooks into web applications. It's a very interesting tool if you are interested in learning how to work with it. There's free workshops available. The link is available there, and I believe in the chat as well. And other sponsors, Soviet Excel Consulting is my consulting business. MrExcel.com is offering us 20% off is all the digital books. We will put you the information. We will put the information in the chat as well. And Women in Excel is a group for women on LinkedIn that I invite everyone who identifies as a woman to join if you like Excel. Our next sessions will be in March 18th with Eric O.M. About the magic of micro automations. Eric has presented to us a couple of years ago, and he's coming back to teach us more about how we can create little automations for things that may seem small each time we do them because it's just a small task, but if we automate them and we have those automations always available, we can repeat and speed up our work. And these automations can be anything as VBA macros, Lambda formulas, Python, so all different things, a sequence of actions in Excel. So I do invite you to come. It will be a great session, I am sure. And then we will have David Ringstrom, who is a book author. He has written several Excel books over the years. He provides Excel training as well. He comes, he's joining us for the first time, and he's teaching us different Excel concepts, but through Excel pranks. So how you can prank your colleagues. We did not make it. I wonder if the time is right. So it's in April. It's just right after April's what's the name of the day? April's Fools, I think it is the name of the day. Anyways,
April's Fool's Day. Yes.
yeah,
April
Fool's Day.
1st. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have this application that I built for you guys with Sheetcast, where I put together all the different benefits that you have available, that we have available for you guys. Uh, I recommend, let me just show you very quickly, that you take a look at that because, oh, I don't have do you have the link there, Aurora? Yes,
Yes, I
Aurora,
just posted.
yeah, Aurora just posted the link there.
Yep.
I thought I had a link here, but I did not.
Yes.
So this is an application. When you log into here, you get to see coupon codes for events. So coming up is the Global Excel Summit. You can get 10% off of any ticket with or without master classes, attending online, in person or online. And then for the Las Vegas Excel Championship as well, there's a coupon code for you guys there. There's how to get 20% off on books and different other resources, training sessions. And in here, we have learning resources at the end. You can find the exercise files through here. So if you click this link, you get to one shared folder with all the exercise files from the previous sessions if you want to follow along. So just wanted to make you aware of all this. Um, just one last thing, if you are interested in trying to get one free ticket for the Global Excel Summit, it can be in person or it can be online. It would be your choice if you get one of those free tickets. There's 5 tickets available that will be given away in March 18th. So you can submit a Sheetcast app, just give it a try, build something simple. All the instructions are on this website, on this form. Okay, and all the other resources, you will be receiving these on the email that I send after the session. So enough talk, and thank you for your patience and bearing with me. I would like to introduce you to Jacob Nielsen today. Uh, Jacob has presented for this group before, and let me just find here, what am I doing? Trying to find the bio here. But Jason works for Microsoft, for the Microsoft Excel team, actually, and has an extensive experience with Microsoft alone. But then he also has his own company, um, create how what's what it's make digital solutions apps. That's the name of his company, where he creates different add-ins and other solutions, Excel based, but with something more to it. Jacob showed us one add-in in his previous session, a great session about last July, about dynamic array functions. If you are kind of new to dynamic array functions, I strongly recommend that session to go back and watch. There's a great exercise file as well. But even if you are already using dynamic arrays, I'm sure you will learn something. And I think Aurora is putting the link there. Yes, so that's the link available in the chat as well. And now not Jason, Jacob is coming, is presenting another tool today, but before that, he will teach us all about data types, because that's the Excel concept behind that tool. And his tool actually solves needs that Excel alone does not offer, does not solve. So it's really exciting to see this tool, and I'm sure it will be useful for many of you. And that's it. So I think I will let Jacob finish his own introduction, and and we will go from there. Let me just stop sharing my screen, And
Thank you.
Jacob,
Thank you,
what did I
Cecilia.
miss?
You need to give me permission to share.
Oh, yeah, because I changed the meeting settings. Apologies for that.
Yeah.
I'll do that right away.
Thank you so much. And Celia, thank you for hosting this, and Aurora as well.
You're
It's
welcome.
always a pleasure to be in your meetup, and thanks everyone for coming. It's great to be here.
Okay, thank you, Jacob, for putting the time to prepare this session.
Oh,
And
you're
I think you
welcome.
can
It's my
share
pleasure.
now.
Yeah. So can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully this won't be too much PowerPoint and a lot of Excel, but just briefly, thanks for the introduction, Celia. Just to sum that up, yes, I am having two roles during every week. For 3 days, I'm a designer in the Excel team at Microsoft here in Seattle. I joined Microsoft almost 30 years ago and have worked in several different businesses of Microsoft, starting out in consulting back in Denmark. Then I was in Dynamics, SharePoint, in Office, and for the more than a decade, I've been in the Excel team. And 3 years ago, I decided to ask for permission to work part-time, and I got that privilege. And during that time, I founded a business in Denmark called Make Digital Solutions, with the goal of helping people be more productive and achieve better results with the spreadsheets. So it's very close to what I do at Microsoft, but in a setting where I get to work much closer to customers and end users, and that's something I really enjoy. My main focus is on creating Excel add-ins, and during the last 3 years, I've launched 4 add-ins in the Microsoft Marketplace. There's 2 add-ins that works around helping you filter pivot tables and tables in Excel. They're called List Slicer and List Filter. And then recently, in the past year, I've added an add-in called Flow, which is about creating dynamic reports. And then most recently, one that's called Data Types. And that's the one that we will see toward the end of this session. So with that, I just want to give you an overview of what I will cover here. First of all, there's kind of 2 parts in this. The first part of the session is about introducing you to data types. If you already know data types, this may be sort of repetitious, but if you don't, I will talk about what the data types are and why they can matter to you in your models. And I'll give you some demos of the so-called built-in data types of stocks, geography, and currencies. That's the first part. The second part is more toward how do I create my own data types with Excel. And there's 2 options basically at the moment. One is to create custom data types with Power Query. That's been there in Excel for a while, but you may not have experienced it. And I'll give a demo of that. And then I will show the data types add-in that I've created and made available in the marketplace that can also help you create your own data types. We'll have demos of both. I've asked Celia and Aurora to interrupt me if there's questions along the way. So please add your questions in the chat. So let's get started with the first part. And I want to switch directly to Excel to take a look at the built-in data types. I'll be using this as the demo workbook. Can everyone see Excel now? Or we want
Yes.
to make this a little bit larger. So
Yeah.
let's take a look at the built-in data types and how they work. So Excel has 3 built-in data types: stocks, currencies, and geography. And the way that they work is that you select cells that have identifiers in them. In this case, it is I've selected 4 stock tickers, and I can get to the data types by going to the Data tab in Excel and then using the Data Types gallery in the ribbon. There's these 3 data types. So for example, I can go and click Stocks. What happens then is that Excel goes to a service and looks up the 4 ticker symbols. And I was very lucky that they were all there in, as valid ticker symbols, and so on. And they are now pulled into the information about these stocks are then pulled into the Excel workbook. So the cell is no longer just the text. It is actually a complete object or record that is about this about the stock. In the one that's selected right now, it's about Microsoft. I can do the same thing with currencies, and it will actually convert the cells to currency crosses between, in the first case, it's US to euros and so on. And then finally, I can do that with geography, and it will go to the Bing service and ask for information about Seattle, Toronto, and Copenhagen, and bring that back to Excel. And that is now in the workbook. The thing with these is that I can use this little icon to inspect what is in that cell, what information is available about this particular stock. So this is what we call the card view. That's also available for the geography data types and so on here. If you have used these data types already in your own work or life, make a note in the chat. I'm curious about how you've used them. And also if you haven't, if this is new to you, I'm curious about that as well. So how do they become useful? Well, the thing is that these data types, these objects can be used in your Excel model. So one thing I can do is to use this little skittle that sort of is, say, can be used to extract information out into the grid. And of course, when you look at stocks, you might be interested in looking at, what is the actual price? You might be interested in looking at, what was the change today and how much was that in percentage. So I'm just extracting information. What I actually do is I type formulas into the grid, or Excel does that for me. So you can see that the formula here, if you look at the formula bar, is cell C5 dot price. And I can do that the same. I can also choose to do that like completely on my own by putting in a formula and say C6 dot price, and it will put in the price there. And so on. I can take this, of course, and just fill it down, and then it will get information for all of these stocks. Same thing applies to the currencies here. If I look at the price here, that's the currency cross between US dollars and euros, and here are the others. For the geography data type, it's things like, for example, what is the population? So that's a property or field on that data type. It's all in the data type. So that's a very quick introduction to the built-in data types and how you actually extract information to the workbook. Let's just go back for a second and just try to just look at what we saw. Well, a data type is basically a cell that contains what we call an entity or record. It's not just one text or number value. It has a label, of course, that it shows in the cell, but behind there's a complete record of things, of fields. It can contain relationships in data. We'll see that later. It can contain metadata. It can even contain data that's hidden for you, but still travels with that cell around in the workbook. Then, of course, you can choose to reference fields. So we saw how you reference the price or you reference the population. One big benefit of this is that you didn't see me do any lookups into some other table. You didn't see me connect, put in a data connection in the workbook. The data is just there for you to use. And we'll see a little later how you can actually avoid having what I call lookup chains, where you have a lookup that repeats a lookup into another table when you want to present data, because that's what they're good at as well, the data types. I have some examples of how to use the built-in data types. And of course, something that you might have benefit from on is, something like this. This is one of the built-in templates in Excel. You can go to File New and just search for investment tracker. And this is basically just a simple portfolio of stocks. And you can see that, for example, here's the data type. This is where the price is pulled out, the change, and so on. And I can do calculations around that, and I can do analysis, like, for example, look at, what is my asset calculation. Huge benefit of the built-in data types is that when the data changes, when the price changes tomorrow, like that will then update when you open your workbook or at a frequency. Another similar example of this is, and let me see if I can actually find that for you, it's over here. Sorry, I couldn't see it here. It's right here. Some of you may know on CNBC, they had this heat map that they show daily on TV. And this is actually a heat map that's created in Excel of the same data, basically showing like what stocks are up, what stocks are unchanged, and what stocks are down. And that's all based on using data types. And now you can actually see that right now it's actually trying to refresh the data in these data types. S&P 500 is, of course, 500 different stocks, so it takes a little bit of time for it to do the refresh, but eventually it will, and now it refreshed, and then this whole thing will also refresh. That is an example. I was looking at how I could illustrate the use of the geography data type. So one of the things, I don't know much about store like deciding where to put a store, but I asked the new Excel agent to actually help build an analysis using the geography data type on sort of where to put new stores in the state of Washington. And this is what was created. I didn't make any modifications to this at all. But here you can see that it's actually using the geography data type to give me data about like what is the population in each of the cities in Washington, and also what is the area and the population, computing the population density and so on, and then assigning scores to that. So that's an example of how you could pull data out of the geography data type and use that for an analysis.
Can we ask a question?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So Tom in the chat is asking if all this extra information that comes with the cards, with the data types, these entities, if it will blow up your workbook in terms of memory, I would say.
Almost on the contrary, because if you wanted to do this by other means, you probably would need to import a lot of data into the workbook. In this particular case, it only has the information about these 4 stocks. It doesn't have information about all stocks in the world. It's only these 4. And the payload, or what the size of this, is actually pretty trivial. So I would say, on the contrary, it won't blow up, because the alternative would be much larger lookup tables that you would have in the workbook. Maybe not for these examples here, but for some of the examples I'm showing later. So no, it doesn't blow it up.
Okay. Thank you. And another question, maybe you are going to show it later, but just in case, can the user define the frequency in which these built-in data types refresh?
I believe so, yes. There is, if you go to, right-click on one of the data types, there's a little menu that then controls the refresh settings. And this is where you can see all of the different data types that are in the workbook. And you can go and, for example, say the stocks data type. How frequently do you want to have that updated? So you can't set the specific interval, but you can say, do you want it automatically, or just when the file opens, or do you want to be in complete control of when it happens?
And to do manually is refresh all?
Manually would be that you do a refresh all, like
Okay.
what from the data tab, and if you have data connections in the workbook, the data types will participate in that. Or you can go to a specific data type and say, I just want to refresh that, and then it will go and do the refresh.
Nice. Thank you. Okay,
Good.
I think another question. Once the data is pulled, can it continue to be operated offline?
If the workbook is offline, yes. Of course, it won't refresh, but you can still use it. And the things you pull out from the data type is in the workbook, and so you can access that.
The data,
regardless
the values.
of whether it travels with the workbook, the values that you have, the full record behind. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
I think that's it for now. Thanks.
Yeah. So again, I went through some examples. Of course, there's many more. And as I said, if you experience with these data types, please make a note of it in the chat to sort of inspire others on how these can actually be used. I want to turn to the second part of the presentation, which is about how to create your own data types. And for a while, we've had the opportunity in Excel to create data types with Power Query. Some of you may not be familiar with Power Query, but I'll give you a short introduction to what this is about and how they're created. In this particular sheet, I have a data type, a products data type that I created based on a Power Query. And so it has the same cards. It has a card, and you can also start to pull out information about the different fields in the same way as I showed you for the built-in data types. So in this case, I can say, what's the name of the product, what's the unit price, what's the category, and so on. And since I'm in a table, it basically builds up the table for me and puts in the formulas of, in this case, it's the product name or the unit price and the category. I can also, in this, pull out the image, but for Power Query data types, what you'll get there is not the image directly. You have to do something where you use the image function. So I'm basically surrounding this property with the image function. And what happens then is that the image function takes that link or URL and turns it into an image that lives inside of the cell. So this is how a data type built with the Power Query works. Just briefly, I don't want to go into a lot of details about this, but the query itself is like any other Power Query. There is a step in the process where you use a specific transformation. So you can see that here's my Power Query with all the data. The data comes from, in this case, the workbook itself. So I'm basically just querying a table in the workbook. It could be in any workbook or in any data source that's supported by Power Query. But as the last step, I'm using this create data type to actually create the specific data type. And it sort of collapses the columns in the query result into a data type. And then I say, what do I want it called? I haven't named it at all, but and then you choose what you want to display as the display column. So that's basically it. There's a more advanced way of building this to where you can select the fields and so on. But it's basically a transformation step that is available inside of Power Query. And that means that when you refresh this, they will get loaded onto the grid. So how do I use this? Well, one way of using it is doing a little bit of let's say I want to do some sales analysis on my sales. And I managed to get a number of sales transactions here. Of course, in real life, you will have a lot more, but I have some sales transactions that I've loaded onto my grid here. But I want to, I have information about when it was, what the customer was, the product ID, and so on. But I don't have information about the product. And this is where this thing about the lookup chains comes in, because typically you would have another table with product and you would do several lookups, which is basically doing the same lookup, but with just getting different columns in that other table. I have prepared a little bit in advance, so excuse me for that. But what I will show you here is that I will do an XLOOKUP into my data types. And on the data types, I will look for the product ID that's equal to the product ID column. And then I will return the data type. So when I do that, it of course says spill, and I don't know why it did that. That is probably because of why did it do that? I wanted product IDs. Let me just say product ID. Okay, that is why. That's because I added all of this.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want, because I just want to do. Thanks for helping me, Celia, with this. I want to go and instead of returning the entire table, I just want to return the one that is called the data type, right? I just want to return one column, the data type column. And when I do that, there you go. There you can see that now it returns the data type. So I did a lookup from product ID to product and got the product out, right? And then I can use the data types here to say, I want to fill in the category. I want to fill in the unit price. And of course, I could sit here and say, you probably don't want to see me type in formulas, but I can say, what is the total undiscounted price? That means that some discount was given for each of them. So this is the discount, and what was that in like percentage? Oops, that was not what I wanted. what is that in percentage? So I'm basically calculating. But as you can see, I'm not looking this up again. I just reference the thing I've already looked up. So it's much simpler, I think, but also much more robust in some way, because it's not like 2 or 3 different lookups that I'm doing in order to do this. And of course, I can say now that I have that, I can say, give me a pivot table on top of that, insert that into the workbook, and I can say for each category, what was the total price and what was it undiscounted and so on, and start doing my analysis in that way. Any questions about that? About the Power Query data types before we move on?
So Anthony is asking, Power Query data type, what info is there in the source? How the source data looks like? And I have a similar question, so it's an interesting question, yes.
Yeah. Let me answer that. Like, what data is in the source? The data in the source in this particular case is just in this demo workbook. I'm only doing this for demo purposes. So it could be in any workbook or in any data source that Power Query can access. So the data that I have is the product ID and the product, unit price, category, and so on, and then the link to the image as well. And that is what I brought into. If we go to the data tab and go to queries and connections and look at the query, that's basically what I brought in here in the source. It is the current workbook and the products table in that current workbook. So I did very little to it before I created the data type.
Kind of on the same idea, what type of data is suitable to create a data type? For example, there you did not have to do any cleaning of the data because it was already good enough. But would there be situations where you would have to prepare your data in a certain way for it to be suitable for a data type?
I think in many cases you would have to do some cleaning up the data before you can build a data type, and that's the interesting thing. And you will see that when we talk about the data types add-in, is that in some ways that's actually what it helps do for a team or for an organization, is that once you have an effort to clean up the data and put it into the data type, and then it's consumed by many users using the data type add-in. So, but it depends a lot. I don't know if we have time to look at that later in this presentation, but I have a demo that's using Lego sets, and I would say that it's a pretty clean data set, although I had to do a little bit of cleanup in naming and so on that before I was satisfied with it as a data type. But yes, most cases you need to do some cleanup. But the thing is that once you put it into this structure of the data types, then you don't need that. And it's already cleaned and structured in some way. Like, the data types really provide structure around your data and also helps you prevent errors. Yeah.
So the data type it's basically, we could look at it as kind of a lookup table just behind the scenes. Each product in this case, or each item, if it is a lookup table about something else, needs to be unique, needs to have so we cannot have duplicates, right? We need to have some kind of unique identifier.
Yeah, it's well, for the Power Query data types, you don't need to have an identifier. But in this particular use case, where I have a product ID that I want to look up to all of the information about a product, then I need an ID to do that. But you don't need to have that. You could use the data type without an ID, but that would be a different scenario than the one I presented to you here.
what happens if I have duplicates then on my data type table?
Nothing with the Power Query data types. It's fine. Like it's very forgiving in that sense. The thing is that you can't do a look. You can, if you do a lookup, you would actually, I think you would get two records
Output to records. Okay.
out of it, and then
tested
you'll
that
get a spill error and so on
if you are in a
that.
table. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course you can deal with that and say, hey, I only want the first one. That's really back to the presentation I did last time, which is about dynamic arrays. You can
Dynamic
apply
arrays.
all of those tricks
Concepts.
and concepts to this as well.
We have another question, if you don't mind. Henry is asking if the underlying source is an external table,
Yeah.
then the value of data types is really an efficient abstraction layer rather than creating actually new functionality. Not sure if I.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good way of putting it, is that you can say what you actually do is that you model a part of the world and say, okay, this is sort of my semantic model of the world. Instead of being separate data in columns, you pull it all together and say, here I have something I consider a product, right? So this is part of my model. That is of course an abstraction or structure you put, a concept you put into your model, your Excel model. That's a fair assessment, yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else at this time?
That's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, good. So this was all about Power Query data types. If you have used them in a model, again, if you want to, you can make a note of that in the chat. It'll be interesting to hear if this was completely news to you, or it's something that you're very well familiar with and have used before. So now I want to switch gears and introduce you to the data types add-in that I've created. There's a link there in the slide, which is basically a link to go to my website, and then there's a try it button, because this add-in is available in the marketplace, and I hope you'll take some time to try it out. We'll talk about how to install it a little bit later. There may be some things that you need to know there. The idea with this is provide a way to bring rich linked organizational data directly into Excel. So it could be things like products, customers, assets, accounts, you name it, that you have in your organization or in your team that you want to have in your Excel models. Have that to enable you to work with data in a structured way and authoritative data. It's data that's been cleaned and sort of made in a form that's ready to use in your formulas, in tables, in charts, conditional formatting, you name it, in Excel. In some way, you centralize the access to this data, and with that, you get more consistent and more reliable insights. What it also does is that it eliminates manual entry and also lookup errors by providing access to automated and updated information. And again, these entities that are created, or data types that are created, they are refreshed automatically. Let me come back to things such as what it costs and so on, if there's questions about that later. But it's also some information that you can get on the website and in the marketplace. What I'd much rather do is to actually give you a demo of the add-in itself. And I'll do that by going back to the workbook. Let me just start out by deleting this, because we'll come back to that later. So in my sheet here, I have some identifiers. You can probably recognize them as my product identifiers. I have a data type. The data type add-in itself shows on the Home tab of Excel as a button that says Convert to Data Type. And when I click that, I'm basically presented with all of the data types that have been made available to me in my organization. And right here at the end, I have something called products. And I can basically click the Convert button here. And what it'll do is that it will go out to the data source. I don't need to know where that data source is or anything, where things are stored, and it will convert the cells, just as we saw with the built-in data types. It will convert that to data types, which means that I can now go and actually inspect or bring up the card for those. As you can see, as an example here, is that each of the cards actually have images on them. So that's something that is supported with the data type add-in. There's different sections in the card, and you can see information such as what is the data type that it came from and when was it last refreshed. And these work exactly the same way as what you saw before. So I can start, say, what is the category, what is the unit price, what was the product ID, and I can even bring in the image into the grid as well. That's tiny image here. But if we select this and make it a little bit larger, you can maybe see a little bit more of the image. So that's an example of a data type that's been created with the data types add-in. Again, as a user of it, I only needed to enter the product IDs, basically click one button after opening the add-in, of course, and then I got the data type. No, there's no Power Query connection or connection to something that I need to set up or a connection string or password or anything. It's just there. The data is there for me to use. This also means that my analysis that I had before changes quite dramatically, because if you remember, I was doing lookups into another table that I had created and so on. Again, imagine that I have the same transactions as before. I've turned it into a table. I just select the entire column of product IDs here, and I say, go convert those. And what you'll see is that then converts this entire column to a product. It's no longer just the product ID. And then I can take each of the things here, for example, the category, put that in. I can go reference the unit price and so on. And then I'm actually done with the data for my analysis. And I can put a pivot table on top of that and analyze it. So that's a very quick demo of just one data type created with the add-in. Let me just switch here.
Can I
yeah,
interrupt and ask something? So
absolutely.
Henry previously mentioned that he has Excel 2024, and the built-in data types are not available in that version. So the currency and geography data types are not available for that version of Excel. He is asking if your add-in would also not work for Excel 2024.
The data types, and I should have mentioned that up front, but the data types are available in the Microsoft 365 subscription version of Excel. And so you need that. And for the data types add-in, you need to have a work account, a Microsoft 365 work account. So a specific tenant where you use that. It will not work with personal accounts.
Personal
at the
Microsoft,
moment.
even 365 personal, but if it is personal, will not work. Okay.
Yeah, you need to have a tenant, and the reason for that is that I chose to focus on sort of the work scenario of sharing data types across a team or across an organization as the first thing. It's on my list to enable it for more personal use because I think it has a use there as well. But it's just not been a high priority for me to make that.
So Anthony is asking, how do we enable the add-in? You probably are going to show that in a bit. Okay.
Let me come back to that, or because I want, just before we get to that, the short answer is it's available as an add-in in the add-in store. So if you click add-ins in the ribbon, you can go to the thing called more add-ins that's down here, and then search for data types in 2 words, and you'll get to that. Or you can go to my website and say try now, and it will bring you to the marketplace where you can get the add-in. That's the short answer. There's more to it, and I'll just show you a little later. But one of the things that I wanted to do is to show you how to create a new data type, because it's unbelievably easy to do that. One of the things you may notice is that in my analysis, I also had customers. And I don't know if you saw that, but I don't have something called customers out here yet. So what I want to show you is how to use Excel, an Excel workbook, to actually create a customer data type. It's in my demo workbook. That's not a completely real scenario, but I have a workbook here with a list of customers. Again, I could have brought that in with Power Query or a CSV file or something like that. And I've saved this workbook to OneDrive or to SharePoint or into Teams. That's a prerequisite. It cannot be local on your computer because no one can access workbooks directly on your computer. It has to be in OneDrive or in SharePoint. It's up there. And the way I create a new data type is basically by going to this little menu and say, I want to create a new collection. And when I'm entering that, I'm giving the choice of either picking the current Excel workbook that I have open as the source, or I can use a Power BI semantic model, so data stored in Power BI. I'll choose the Excel workbook, and of course, there you see it, it's not saved to SharePoint. So let me just go and put it on SharePoint real quick. So I just put the workbook up on Megan's SharePoint drive here, and hopefully it should realize that it's now on SharePoint. I would hope. Let's see. It's not picking it up. Let's go do new collection here. It's tricky. Let me do something else. Let's do it from here. I have another workbook we can use. So it is more forgiving of me. Just a second. Any questions as we look at this when I'm trying to fix this?
No questions.
Okay.
If you want to mention then Power BI later, I'm not sure if you are intending to cover that. So
Yeah,
the option about Power BI, because we do have some people in the audience that work with Power BI.
Yeah. Let me just check how much time we have. I think we have time to
we still have time.
Debug this a little bit. Let me just see what was going on here. No, I think OneDrive MSFT. It looks like it should be functional. Let's let's save a copy, and I think this may be a synchronization problem. Let's for a second, let's just switch to my account instead, and then we can take it from there. So okay. It doesn't seem to be more forgiving with that, but whatever, I can go to my other workbook here, and then because that should do it. Yeah, the customers table, here it is. And then I go to convert to the data types add-in and load that. And excuse me, I have a lot of different, I have a customer one already, so let me just delete that for a second. It's a little bit more messy than my demo setup. But let's go a new collection and then do Excel workbooks. Now it actually realized that it is up there. And the thing that it now does is that says, okay, what tables do you have here? And I can choose among the tables in the workbook, and I can choose the customer table in the workbook. And then I can basically say, this is my customer's data type for the Toronto Meetup. I can choose what is my key and what do I want to have displayed in the column, and I will just say the company name there, and then I can choose to do a turtle as the icon for the data type. And once I do that, it creates the collection for me. When I then go back to my data here, the three keys, it's actually ready to be used, and I can choose to convert that. And you'll see that it now created the data type based on the table. And I could start doing, like, for example, which country is this from? What's the phone number? I should put that in, but what's the name? What's the title of the contact? What is the name of the contact? So if we just do this.
And this is fake. I just want to mention for YouTube that
Yeah,
this is fake data, because lately YouTube has been
yeah,
blocking videos that use email addresses or phone numbers on the demos,
yeah.
even if it is fake data. So hopefully our
And
video
I,
will not be blocked.
and I hope, Celia, that you won't get into trouble with this. And I should, of course, not have had the phone numbers in the screenshot. And for next time, I'll
Yeah,
pull
so
those
but
out.
should be okay, but just
It's all fake
putting it
data.
out
You can
there.
see that it's the Northwind data that's been pulled in. If some of you are familiar with that from the Access database.
Just letting the
Um,
algorithm know.
yeah. So good. So just to summarize, I took an Excel workbook. I finally got it up on SharePoint, and then it was super easy to actually created a data type from that, and it's ready to use. And I can even take, if I pull out if I want to enable others to use it, I can pull out these in separate cells, and I can go to a brand new workbook that's not on SharePoint, but just locally, and paste these in. And then I can take my data type and say, once it shows up here in the list, oops, my customer data type here, please convert that, and it will convert that. That would be actually the experience of any user where this workbook has been the workbook I used to create the data type. When you share that with someone else, they also get the data type that's built on that workbook, if that makes sense. That was a
So
lot. Any
that's a way.
questions?
So what you're saying is a way of sharing the add-in is to just share a workbook with some data types already in it, or not really?
I that might be it. I'm not sure it is, but you need to have you can share the workbook, of course, because the data types are in that workbook. But if people want to use that data type in a completely new workbook, then they also need the add-in. But once they open the add-in and they have access to the data behind the data type, then that data type will also show up for them. There's nothing else that they need to do. It should just be there when they sign in to the add-in.
There's a question here by Anthony. How do you assign the icons? Do you have to have that in your source data?
No, the icons are part of the add-in and part of Excel. So what you saw maybe was that I have this list of hundreds of icons that I can use, and I can basically just go, change that. I change the icon, and now it didn't change on this one. But if I go and say data type, this is because it's for some reason not refreshing here. But if it was one of the ones that refreshed, it will actually update the icon. Good. Let's briefly talk about data types and relationships, because I think I promised to show you the Lego data type that I also have. And let's for a second switch back to Megan and just look at the data types that she has for Lego. So maybe there's this is actually a set number, a Lego set number, and I have a Lego set data type. And that data type is actually based on a Power BI semantic model. So when I do my conversion here, it will go to Power BI and get the set data out of Power BI. It'll look for images there, and it will also look for how the data is organized in Power BI. So I can start pulling out that this is the Eiffel Tower, it's the image of that, and so on. We may want to do this a little bit larger than that. And I can see like things like this, what year was it from, and how many parts are in this set. So it has this is a data type of I think there's more than 24,000 different Lego sets from when they started making Legos till today. And it refreshes in Power BI. What's interesting here, though, is that there are relationships in this. So, for example, there is a theme relationship. So when I pull that out in the card, I can actually drill down into the theme itself. And I can also pull that out on the grid. And that's a new data type in itself. And that's because the Power BI model has relationships in it that I then represent as the data types. But what is even more fun, and I don't know if you're playing with Lego, but sometimes you wonder, do I have all the bricks to actually assemble the Eiffel Tower? And all of that information is available on the web, but it's also available in this data type. So I can actually go to the data type and then say, give me, just a second, I need to just reset my demo for a second. So I'll be right back with the demo. Just need to close Excel here so that I can actually show you that. I think, let me just quit this. I think I'm more lucky now with that. Let me just see. Yeah, that's the convert to data type. Oops. Okay, so let's do the Lego set for the Eiffel Tower one more time and see if we got it. Yeah, we got it. I can go here and point to the set and then say, what are all the parts in the Eiffel Tower? I think there's more than 3,000 parts in it, like in the number. And this is all the part numbers for the Eiffel Tower. That's represented in the data type. Again, I don't need to know that semantic model. I just need to know that there's a property here that's called the parts. What is interesting though is I can go point at that and say, what's the quantity for each of these? So this is the quantity for in the set. So now I can start counting if I have the parts. But if I'm in doubt about what I need to count, I can actually go and access the image for each of the parts. And I forgot to put a little pound sign in here because I want it for everyone. And it actually brings in all of the images for those parts, all through the data type. I can make these a little bit larger so you can see that it is actually Lego parts that comes in. And this is all done through the data type and the data type and in understanding the model that I have in Power BI that includes the relationships. Okay, any questions to this?
That's cool, says Eric, and gives me some fun ideas. He says.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm glad you think as well. Please share your ideas that you have. But anything that, like, you could see that this is kind of a bill of material scenario that is right here that you can unfold very easily. And the way those particular data types are done is the same way. You say new collection, you say you want to use a Power BI semantic model. It goes and looks at everything you have in Power BI, all of the different data sets that you have. You choose one, and once you can do that, you can actually go and build your own data set. So since we are close to the end of this and we want to leave for more questions, I don't want to build one particularly, but it's super easy. For example, let's say I want to build one that's the minifigures database. I can do that. I don't remember the numbers for the minifigures, but we would be able to pull that up and get images of those figures and so on, all built with Power BI.
Lovely. It's really good.
Good. Let me just show you how to install the data types add-in. And let's just do a new workbook so we have a clean slate. The way you get that it is a little bit dependent on whether you can install add-ins in your work tenant. If you can install add-ins, it's very simple. You go to add-ins and then more add-ins, and in that you search for data types. Once you do that, it will or should relatively quickly bring up a tile that says data type by Make Digital Solutions. And I've already have it installed, and you click open. What will happen then is after you do that is that it will open the add-in in a sort of the first state. And then it will sign you in with your credentials, with your Microsoft 365 account into the add-in. Part of that sign-in is also giving the add-in the permissions to act on your behalf when it comes to OneDrive and SharePoint and with regard to Power BI. And that's, again, depending on what your work tenant has, or IT at your work has set up. Some cannot do that on their own, so they will need an administrator to give that permission. So you need to have, contact support and say, hey, I want to use this add-in from the marketplace. Please install it for me. Your IT admin can then install it in the tenant and make it available for you and for others in the tenant. If you have specific questions related to that or need help with that, get in touch with me and we can work on that together. But hope you can install it yourself. But I know that for many, you need to get with your IT support and have them sort of put it into your Microsoft 365 tenant for you to use it. But if you're going to use it with a team or with a broader set of people in your organization, that's probably a good way anyway to do that. Good. Any questions before I sort of sum up this? Any questions to installation or anything else?
There's no questions.
Okay, good. That's awesome. We've also been going on for a while, so I can understand if you want to wrap this up. I think that the data types, but also the data types add-in really can change how people use Excel, because what you can do is create data types that give people access to a whole universe of data without the data engineering. You can have one cell that exposes an entire domain. You saw it for the products I had, or customers, or you saw it for the Lego sets. Actually, the one cell with the one set number, I could turn it into a complete bill of material for a Lego set. And that's what it's really all about. And you have all the information from that domain available on demand. There's no plumbing required. I didn't talk about where the data came from. Well, I did because I was explaining that to you as well, but there's no need to explain that really, where the data comes from. It's just there. You're fully authenticated to the data. You don't need to clean that data, as a user of the data type at least, or join the data or do lookups or transformation or anything. So it eliminates a lot of the busy work that you need to do in order to get information. The information is just right there, and it's there in a very structured and stable way. There was someone that asked a question about this being an abstraction, and you're absolutely right. This is an abstraction layer that abstracts away all the details about where the data is, how to get to it, and so on. And it's very useful in cases where you are working as a team or as an organization, and you use the same data, the same product data, or the same customer data, or property data, or whatever it is that your domain is, and you want to use it in the same way across your team with no transformations happening in each of the workbooks. The data has already been transformed into the shape that it can be used. So people see the same data, the same authoritative data throughout their workbooks. That's basically it for me. If there's more questions, I'm happy to take some of those. If you, after this, have additional questions, don't by any means hesitate to get in touch. There's a few ways that you can do that. Give the add-in a try. If you have issues, let me know. If you have a very cool scenario for how to use it, let me know. If you don't really know how to use it also, and you're curious about how you could use it in your job, get in touch with me and we'll figure it out. Thank you so much.
Jacob. Thank you. No, thank you to you. there's excellent for master data management, but do you see this also used for transaction data? Asks Henry asks.
I actually do see it for transaction data as well, and I've actually seen that used on a data type for sales order lines, where the team is working on um, basically planning purchase orders and production and so on, and they use it on sales order lines. Again, in that case, the data lives in Power BI. Each of the lines have an ID. They can look up a line and show that. The This has not been done in the add-in yet. However, one of the things that I want to make in the add-in is the ability to not only work with a single key and a single object, but actually work with multiple entities at a time. So, for example, a list of things. And once you get to a list of things, you can actually put it on top of transactions as well, without like the single lookup thing that you had. So yes, absolutely. And again, as we talked about, the Power Query data types, you can use those on transactions if you want.
Thank you. I'm not sure, you probably mentioned this, but maybe I missed it. The location of for example, if you create one of these data types, a collection out of a specific workbook, does it need to be saved in a folder to where all the users who will have access to the add-in also have permission to access that folder? Or that specific file?
The workbook needs to be saved in OneDrive or SharePoint. So a file share won't work, and local files on your computer won't work. It's OneDrive or SharePoint only. And the users need access, at least read access to the workbook, not necessarily to the folder. So you could have
it could be just
all sorts of other stuff in that folder. It's just the permissions on that particular workbook that determines whether the user sees the data type.
Yeah, because if they don't, then even if they have the add-in, it will not work. They will not get the data.
That particular data type they will not see. And that's the same for the Power BI data types, is that the user needs to have access to that data set in Power BI. I think there was a question around, does it require a Power BI license? And the answer to that, yes, it does require you to have a Power BI license. Or be a licensed user with Power BI. I'm not keeping up with all the ways that you can have Power BI licenses, unfortunately, but you need to be licensed there in some way.
Okay. I was thinking about data, the number formatting, or the how do you call it? It's the data types. So when you format in Power Query, when you format the word does not come out as a text or as a number, how important is that when you create the data type so that then it works the way you intend it to work in the end?
The way it works is that, of course, you can do some formatting in Power Query and say this data is a number or text or data and so on. But what it also does is that it looks for the formatting in the table, and it says it takes the formatting that is on the first row of the data, and then it applies that to all of the rows. That's a little bit of an efficiency thing, that it only gets that information once, and then it focuses on the data for the rest. But if you want to have a specific date format or number format and so on, you can actually specify that in the table, and the data types add-in will pick that up and apply it in the result.
The card, yeah.
Yeah, in the card, and also when it pulls out the data. Yeah.
Good, thank you. That's really
That's again
neat.
one more thing that like you can do in the data type that then users won't need to worry about that, basically.
Yeah, it's done
because,
once and then it's the same for everyone.
yeah.
For dates, for example, they will not be typing month, day for one person and then the other person year, month, day, or whatever. So Anthony is saying data types add-in is available for work or school account, but not for personal home account, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That is how it's done now. And as I mentioned, the reason why I'm starting there is because I think that a key use case is for the data types add-in is if you share it across a team. And with the personal account, there is no team. You are on your own.
Yeah.
So there's not a team concept there.
Yeah. Eric is saying, I was thinking about using it and use it, store and retrieve a supply list for projects and events, like a group mountain bike ride or group canoe trip.
Yeah.
What each person should bring or needs to do to prepare. So that's not a question. I think he's just saying his project would be about what each person would have to bring based on that type of information.
Yeah.
At the moment, only 4. Okay. Anthony also asks, can data types be used in Power BI, or it's designed for Excel grid only?
The data types are for the Excel grid. The way they are made with the things like encapsulation, and you put everything in a cell. It's not directly translatable to Power BI itself. So for example, if you went into Power BI and you say, hey, I want to import data from this particular workbook, I don't think it is actually recognizing the fact that there's a rich data object in a cell. In that case, you will need to extract the specific information into nearby like columns, and then you can import it into Power BI. But it's so far the data types is not as a kind of a universal concept across different Microsoft services and products and so on. Of course, in the Excel team, we wish it would be like that, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah, and we used to have there used to be a functionality of enterprise data types or organization data types, something like that, right? We used to have that in Excel.
Until July of last year, we had something called organizational data types, where you could go into in Power BI, you could go into a semantic model and say, please feature this as a data type in Excel. And then that would show up in Excel in the data gallery. That feature is no longer in Excel. The data types add-in has functionality that sort of supersedes what that could do. But it's actually it can do more than just that.
Yeah, actually, that one had to come from Power BI, mandatory, and this one can come out of a regular Excel workbook, which is a table there.
That's one of the things where it does, can do more than the Power BI one can do. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions before Francisco says he needs to step out? Thank you. Anthony is saying, are data types created locally in your instance of Excel, or data types created by someone can be shared within an organization?
The data types I showed you here is something that can be shared with an organization. The way it works is that the moment you share the workbook with someone else, or you share the Power BI semantic model, with someone else, then that data type is also shared with them. So
as
those
long
two,
as they get the add-in installed.
as long as they get the add-in, once they get the add-in and they sign in with the same tenant as you are in, which your colleagues typically do if you work for the same organization, then they will also get those data types. So there's no additional sharing needed for them to see the data type. If you don't want them to see your data type, then don't share the Power BI data set with them, or don't share the workbook with them. There's currently no way of hiding things that you
Or
have
don't tell them about the
created.
add-in.
Well, don't say that. I
That you
think is
don't
a
want to
not so good
promote.
option. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course you should.
Yeah. So it's only the great thing about it is that only one person needs to worry about creating the data type. Only one person needs to know where the data source is, maintain that data source if there's any maintenance to be done to it, and that's it. And so, and every time it changes, the changes are available the next time someone accesses the data type. It's brilliant. Yeah.
I think it's basically your opportunity to become a data hero in your organization, because with this you can make data readily available for many people throughout your organization. And by the way, if you saw what I did, it was with very little effort once you've cleaned the data and set it up. And you should compare that to all of the effort that would otherwise happen in sharing instructions on how to do queries and lookups and sharing connection strings and all of that busy work, as I call it. That is really no longer needed. So
or worse. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, or worse, a lot of people still use VLOOKUP formulas to link to other workbooks just to import the data.
That's right. That's a scenario as well. As I didn't mention that, but typically you would have workbook links, and for those of you that have used those, know that that's a fragile thing, because if the workbooks move and so on, then things start to break. And that's one of the things that with this, when the workbook moves or get another name or something like that, it actually still works.
Yeah, and even other things like if so I think VLOOKUP will not work with tables. So you have to have your data in a range, and so
really?
you need to reference extra rows if you want be sure to bring all the data. And then if your data goes past to it, then you look up. If VLOOKUP may not be finding the record you need, there's all kinds of issues with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one looks much nicer and easier to bring in the data into your any workbook, which is great. Okay, so let's see. I don't think there's any other questions. I hope we answered everything. I'm not sure if I missed something. If I did, please let me know. Otherwise, I think we can finish here. You already mentioned your contact information, right, Jacob? Feel free to reach out. We will send that information as well. We will send the workbook that the presentation, I think, is shared, right? So any files that Jacob is sharing, we will be sending that out in a couple of days once the recording is available as well, as we usually do. And it will be available for you in the shared folder for you to take a look at as well. So I think that's it. Yeah, I don't think there's any other questions. Thank you. There's a lot of people say thank you from me and Aurora as well, Jacob. It was a great session, and it was good to revisit this topic. Not a lot of people are aware of data types. I hope some people start make good use of it. Okay, thank you, everyone. See you soon. Have a great night or a good evening, good day, morning, depending on where you are. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.